Light camera action. Your microphone. Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Hialeah Planning and Zoning Board meeting, and we have what land use. The double whammy tonight. For Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. Everyone please rise for the invocation and the pledge of allegiance.
Lord, thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve our city tonight. And please grant us the wisdom to do right for all those who are meeting here tonight. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated.
Meeting guidelines. The following guidelines apply to today's Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Any person, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, interested in making comments or posing questions on any item on the agenda may do so during the meeting. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting and join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard. All lobbyists must register with the Planning and Zoning Board prior to item being heard. A maximum of 4 speakers in favor and 4 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the Planning and Zoning Board on any item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Roll call. Mr. Perez?
Here.
Mr. Mason?
Here.
Mr. Iglesias?
Here.
Mr. Jimenez?
Here.
Mr. Ulloa?
Here.
Mr. Santiesteban?
Here.
Mrs. Enriquez? Here. We have a quorum. Summary minutes or a copy of the audio files. Administration of oath to all applicants and anyone who will be speaking before the board on any item.
Anyone and everyone that's going to speak in front of the board, please stand, raise your right hand so we can swear you in. ¿Ustedes van a presentar testamento frente a la Junta? No?
Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth before this board? ¿Juras o afirmas decir la verdad ante esta junta?
Thank you. Let the record show that the answer was on the allowed affirmative. Do we have anyone on Zoom?
Okay.
It's going to be beautiful tonight.
Summary minutes or a copy of the audio files of proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the City Council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the City Council at its scheduled meeting of Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. LU1. Small scale map amendment from low density residential to medium density residential. Properties located at 1760 East First Avenue, Hialeah zoned R2, 1 and 2 Family Residential District. Applicant Javier Vasquez, Esquire, on behalf of Cornerstone Property Ventures LLC.
Name it.
Mr. Chairman and board members, my name is Javi Vasquez. Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members. My name is Javi Vasquez. I'm with Berger Singerman. Our offices are at 1450 Brickell Avenue.
Thank you.
And I guess we'll let Deborah.
Yes. This property is located on the west side of East First Avenue between East 17th Street and East 18th Street. The regular size lot has 18,000 square feet and was originally developed in 1955 as a single-family home with approximately 3,000 square feet. In 1985, the property was sold to a corporation and an addition of approximately 3,310 square feet was built. According to the Florida Healthcare Agency, the property has been operating as an assisted living facility since 1985 and is currently licensed for 34 beds. The current owner, Cornerstone Property Ventures II LLC, has been licensed with the city as an assisted living facility since 2001 based on city records. The use of the property is considered legal non-conforming because current regulations do not allow ALFs with more than 6 beds on properties designated as low-density residential, and a conditional use permit is required for ALF with more than 6 beds. At this time, the applicant is before the city to change the land use from low-density residential to medium-density residential as the first step to bring the property into conformity. The minimum next steps required are a parking variance, rezoning, and conditional use permit. Other variances might be required since the applicant has the intention to build an addition and increase the bed count, which would require a variance to allow the expansion of a non-conforming use. The block where the property is located has low medium density residential land use, with the exception of the adjacent property to the north that is designated as medium density residential. The surrounding area is mostly designated also as low density residential, except for the properties fronting Palm Avenue that have commercial designations. Since the requested land use change is consistent with the use established in the property 40 years ago and is the first step required to bring the property into conformity, the land use change shall be approved. Recommendation approved.
Thank you, Mr. George. Javi?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And just procedurally, I spoke to Alex before the meeting. It's before you now in the context of a land use application. It's going to then come back at you when you attend to the rezoning and the conditional use. I'm going to make one presentation now. I will incorporate all of the elements, and when we get to zoning, there will hopefully not be a need to represent the application. By then, you will have hopefully heard the entire presentation, and we can answer any questions that you may have. So I do represent Cornerstone Property Ventures 2 LLC. I'm here with Mr. Miguel Perez and his family, who is the principal. Carlos Cardoso, our architect, I believe, is running late. I don't see him yet. But we do have a very, very brief presentation to show you. First of all, even though this has been in operation since the 1980s as an assisted living, this has been for some time now a mental health facility. And it's important that we understand that because of the significant need in our community for those services. And what the property, as you heard, is 1760 East First Avenue. And what triggered this series of entitlements is the interest and the desire to expand it from the number of beds to 74 beds. So this is an opportunity to clean up the entire situation from a land use perspective, from a zoning perspective. And as you heard, you have a series of applications before you. One is for a small scale amendment, which is currently on the record now, from low density to medium density residential. And we have an accompanying set of requests, including a rezoning of the property, a conditional use permit, and an expansion of a non-conforming use with certain variances necessary for our proposed expansion. As you just heard, and as is the case with the other applications, this comes before you with a recommendation of approval from your professional planning staff. And that recommendation of approval has certain conditions which we are amenable to. We have no objection to any of the conditions that are being suggested by Mrs. Storch. If I could, I will point you, Mr. Cardoso is now in the building like Elvis. I will point you to our very brief presentation. Go back one to the original page, please. So there you have a location sketch and a bird's eye view of the area. Go to the next one, Yuselis. So this is what the property looks like today. The expansion proposal includes the addition of a two-story building towards the west side of the lot. If you could go to the next page, please. Next page. I'll come back to that one in a minute. So this is our site plan. And like I said, the expansion proposal includes the addition of a two-story building towards the west side of the property, which is the rear of the property, with an approximate 3,469 square feet that would accommodate the 40 additional beds. The proposal also includes the remodeling and upgrade of the existing building's front facade. If you can go back to the one before that, Yuselis. And as you can see, compared to the original slide, this is going to be a significant improvement to what we believe is an eyesore today. And Mr. Perez is very proud of the investment that he's making, obviously not just for the additional beds, but to make this a much better looking property in the community. The property's parking will keep its existing layout since there is no space for an alternative configuration. There are some variances that are needed to advance the expansion, including a variance to allow the expansion of the non-conforming use, which we spoke about, to add the 40 beds. And there's also a lot coverage to allow 53.27% where 45% is required. And the parking issue, we have submitted a parking demand study. Mr. Perez does own other facilities throughout this community and in Hialeah. And what we have committed to is allowing certain employees to park in those facilities when needed. And he will be providing a shuttle service for his employees as needed. I believe we have, Deborah, help me out here. I think it's 7 parking spaces. What?
We'll go into that detail when we go.
We do the zoning? Okay.
section. This is the land use to make the existing use consistent with the land use. The adjacent property is medium density residential, and well, this has been there for 40 years, so it's reasonable to approve it.
Bottom line, we'll revisit the parking issue when we get to that, but 10 parking spaces are required, 7 are available, and the other 3 spaces will be provided using the other facilities. And as I mentioned, and I'll just reiterate one last time, Mrs. Storch is supporting the application. As I mentioned, there's a significant need in our community for mental health services. As of today, I reached out to Ms. Storch, and I'm not aware of any opposition to this application. So having said that, we would respectfully request that you approve the land use component now, and we'll continue talking when the zoning components come back. And thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vasquez. Any comments or questions from the board?
Through the chair.
Yes.
Since 1985, you've been functioning. Why change now?
Well, 1985 goes back to previous ownerships,
Right.
I believe. So they've only owned the property since 2016.
Is it because you want to expand? Is that what?
Yeah, so right now there's 34 beds and they see the demand is there. They have the ability to expand to the west. So now they're going through the process. And when we started talking with the city about the expansion process, we realized there was a lot of cleanup that had to be done.
Got it.
And that's what we're doing tonight.
And in 1985, there were not regulations in the code until we realized in the early 2000s that we had in this east area of the city too many ALF. We with the city attorney at the time, we met with ACA, with Children and Family, because they were signing applications without verifying the distance requirement that they require. So after that, we put a lot of regulations in place. So they are coming to conform with what is in the code now.
Very good. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more questions?
Through the chair,
Yes, sir.
are they within the required distance? Because I know there's an ALF not too far from there.
Yeah, but they are already there. They have.
Yeah, we're existing.
What is the distance? Because I know of 2 of them.
The distance is 1,000 feet from one that is 6 beds or less, and 1,200 feet from another one. But they are already there. The use is there.
Okay. But are you familiar with the Salmo 23?
No,
Aren't
no,
they right?
they own
The same
Salmo
one.
20.
Oh, you're the same owners? of
Yeah,
Sa-
yeah.
Ah, sí, ¿cómo tal? Ok, pensaba que había un conflicto con Salmo, por eso estaba. No,
The ones that are already established in the area,
Grandfather.
they
Okay.
are there. They are
Okay,
grandfathers.
estoy de
So
acuerdo,
we
gracias.
try to, yeah,
Otra-
we
estoy
try,
de-
we try.
I'm your friend, everybody's your friend, estamos de acuerdo.
We try to make them better, but I know, I have known them for years and I know their facilities, and if you pass by, he has one on
Yeah,
East
yeah.
Point. That since I drive there every day, I remember how it was and I know how it is since he purchased it many years ago, so it's a good thing that they come to the city to improve these facilities that are there already.
Thank you, Mr. Villar. Is there anyone else on the board? Anyone in the audience who would like to chime in? Close this part of the public hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve.
Second. So we have a motion by Mr. Jimenez, second by Mrs. Enriquez. Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Santiesteban?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Item has been approved.
Thank you. Javi, you're gonna do the next item. It's yours also, right? It's the same. Okay. All right. This will close the part of the land use meeting. We will go on with the planning and zoning part of the meeting.
Item number 1. Approval of Planning and Zoning Board summary agenda of January 15th, 2025 as submitted.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Santiesteban. Mr. Mason?
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Santiesteban?
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa?
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Perez?
Yes.
Item has been approved. A written decision and resolution will be prepared and presented for review to the city council. The city council is authorized to affirm with conditions, or override the decisions by resolution. After the resolution is adopted, contact a member of the city clerk's office to obtain a copy of the final decision and resolution. Upon your receipt of the final decision and resolution, contact the building department to obtain your required building permit. Summary minutes or a copy of the audio file of the proceedings before the Planning and Zoning Board shall be prepared and submitted to the city council before its hearing. The Planning and Zoning Board recommendations for the following public hearing requests will be heard by the city council at its scheduled meeting of Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. Item number 2. Rezoning property from R2, 1 and 2 Family Residential District to R33 Multiple Family District. Variance permit to allow the expansion of a non-conforming use existing at the site since 1985. Conditional use permit to allow an assisted living facility with the existing 31 beds plus 40 new additional beds. Variance permit to allow a lot coverage of 53.27%, where 45% is the maximum lot coverage allowed. Allow 7 parking spaces where 24 parking spaces are required. And to allow all parking spaces to back out into the right of way, where back out into the right of way is only permitted in low density residential properties. Property is located at 1760 East First Avenue, Hialeah Zone R2, 1 and 2 Family Residential District. Applicant Javier Vasquez, Esquire, on behalf of Cornerstone Property Ventures LLC.
Once again, Javi Vasquez on behalf of the applicant, and I know Deborah has a report on this one as well.
So this application is the companion item of the land use amendment that we just heard. The application has the purpose of bringing the existing non-conforming property into conformity by means of rezoning, conditional use permit, and parking variance, and also to request an expansion of a non-conforming use, conditional use permit, and variances related to a proposal to add 3,500 square feet to the existing 2,015 square feet facility in order to increase the bed count from 34 to 74. The existing facility layout provides for backout parking at the front setback, where only 7 parking spaces, including an accessible space, are provided, and the facade looks the same way it did 11 years ago. The expansion proposal includes the addition of a 2-story building towards the west side of the lot, with an approximate area of 469 square feet that would accommodate 40 new beds. The proposal also includes the remodeling and upgrade of the existing building front facade, adding articulation to it by changing materials to differentiate volumes, hierarchizing the entrance with a limestone accent and a prominent eyebrow, and by providing new openings and planters with enhanced landscaping. The parking will keep its existing layout since there is no space for an alternative configuration, but is proposed to have its paving upgraded. The variances needed to advance the expansion proposal include a variance to allow the expansion of the non-conforming use by allowing to add 40 beds to the existing 34 beds for a total of 74 beds, allow lot coverage of 53.27%, where 45% is required, allow 7 parking spaces where 24 are required, and allow backout parking where backout parking is only permitted in low-density residential properties. The proposed increase in the lot coverage leaves few space for the required 11 canopy trees that need to be provided in the property where only 2 trees are proposed. Accordingly, a tree mitigation for 9 trees is required so that the city can plant the canopy trees elsewhere. As for the parking, a parking demand study has been submitted with the application, where 4 facilities, including the subject one, were assessed for parking occupancy, concluding that the actual parking demand is 0.129 spaces per bed. Therefore, a 74-bed facility would require 10 parking spaces, and the existing 7 parking spaces would satisfy the demand of a facility with no more than 58 beds. However, the applicant is willing to require 3 of the facility's employees to park at another facility owned by the applicant, which has a surplus of 6 parking spaces based on the traffic demand analysis submitted with the application. In addition, it was noted in the parking demand study that the peak times for parking range from 12 p.m. to 3:30 p.m., where there are plenty of vacant designated on-street parking spaces along East First Avenue. Since the requested rezoning to R33 is consistent with the medium-density land use in process and consistent with the long-time use of the property, it shall be approved. The same reasoning applies for the conditional use permit. As for the expansion, it shall be allowed with the condition that the satellite parking will be provided at 3051 East 4th Avenue as needed or by request by the city if encroachment into the adjacent sidewalk is noticed. Staff recommends the following conditions to consider approval of the CUP and variances. The project shall be developed according to the plans prepared by DTI Architects Associates dated December 11, 2024. The number of beds shall be limited to a total of 74. The number of trees required that cannot be installed on the site shall be mitigated through payment to the city at the value assessed by the Parks Department that includes materials and installation. Employees' satellite parking will be provided at 3051 East 4th Avenue as needed or at the request of the city when tandem parking and or encroachment into the adjacent sidewalk is noticed. At no times the ALF parking demand shall negatively block the public sidewalk. The property owner shall ensure that employees and visitors do not tandem park. The recommendation approval with this condition.
Thank you, Deborah. Abby?
I will incorporate my presentation from the land use component by reference for purposes of not having to be redundant. I think the board understands this application. These are the accompanying zoning entitlements that are needed for the proposed expansion. Rather than continue to hammer that, I will close my presentation with a request that you also forward a recommendation of approval to the council. And we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, sir. Comments or questions?
To the chair,
Yes.
what would be the difference between providing a variance for the number of parking spots and having them do an employee's?
Your microphone?
Oh, sorry.
Well, because you provide them the variance, but with the condition that if those parking spaces are not enough, they will have 3, they will have to control and they will need to have those employees park somewhere else. If there is no parking available on the street, because if you pass by that I pass every day through East First Avenue, during the day, those spaces are empty. They are full at night, but during the day, they are all empty.
If I could, just to expand on that real quickly, the fact that 10 are required, but we're providing 7 on site, the common ownership of the other facilities is a mitigating factor that allows us to use that surplus that exists in the other location to help this if needed.
Okay.
That it? Anyone else? Anyone in the audience? Close to the part of the public hearing.
Motion?
Second, the motion.
Okay, so
Motion to what?
Motion to.
Vote to approve with the conditions.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second, the motion with the conditions.
okay, so we had a motion by Mr. Santiesteban, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Jimenez,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Santiesteban,
Yes.
Mrs. Enrique,
Yes.
Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions.
Abby, be mindful. I don't know if you caught on to it or not. Of the excessive usage of the word shall.
In the staff report,
That's what the attorneys told me.
that's all, that's Alex. Alex is.
I just,
Thank you so much.
You know, shall is a very strong word. So,
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
all right, thank you.
Item number 3, rezoning properties from P Parking District to TOD Transit Oriented Development District. Proposed amendment to the existing declaration of use and covenant in lieu of unity of title recorded in official record book 30758, page 3898 of the public records of Miami-Dade County. Later modified in official record book 31240, page 2828 of the public records of Miami-Dade County, in order to release a limitation of use on a portion of the properties. Properties are located at 5555 East 25th Street, 502 East 26th Street, 512 East 26th Street, 522 East 26th Street, 532 East 26th Street, 540 East 26th Street, and 552 East 26th Street. Hialeah Zoned P Parking District.
Good evening, board members. Alejandro Arias, 701 Brickell Avenue, representing the applicant.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
The properties listed above include an entire block surrounded by East 26th Street to the north, East 25th Street to the south, East 5th Avenue to the west, and East 6th Avenue to the east, for an area of approximately 5.6 gross acres of land. The block was originally platted into 30 lots. Starting in 2008, the property owners started to purchase lots in the block that were rezoned from R1 to P under ordinances 2008-33 and 2017-87. The first lots acquired served the purpose of reserving neighboring properties for future expansion, and in the meantime, creating an overflow surface parking lot to serve 445 East 25th Street, that at the time was in preparation of a complete redevelopment of said property. This is the Leon Medical Center property. Currently, the entire block is under the same ownership of 555 East 25th Street, LLC. The lots are currently improved with a surface parking lot and an open green area servicing Leon Medical Center across the street at 445 East 25th Street, and are used for overflow parking. At the request of the city, at the time of the 2017 rezoning, a declaration of use and covenant in lieu of unity of title was proffered by the applicant is recorded in the public records. Under the recorded documents, and because of the P parking designation, the property use was restricted to parking to serve Leon Medical Center East Hialeah Center. As of July 2024, according to Ordinance 2024-71, the unified parcels have a land use designation of TOD. Since the land use has been amended, subsequently, the applicant is requesting to rezone the property from parking to TOD. Therefore, this application is to develop the entire block as a cohesive 8-story building with 559 residential units and approximately 26,400 square feet of ground floor commercial uses in accordance to TOD regulations. The applicant also proffers that prior to the construction of the proposed development, a new parking structure will be built at 445 East 25th Street for employee overflow parking. The ability to develop this site as a TOD is its proximity to two of the metro stations within the city. The site is half a mile from the Hialeah Metro Station and 3/4 of a mile from the Hialeah Transfer Tri-Rail Metro Rail Station, providing the appropriate density to support transportation options to future residents. The proposed design components of the project adhere to the architectural standards of the TOD. The building renderings reflect the usage of a series of materials throughout the facades, darker and lighter tones with different material treatments, articulating the building and providing non-monotonous facades and building masking. Canopies and transparent storefronts make the ground level welcoming and attractive for commercial activity. There are no blank walls, and parking develops in the interior of the building. The building is proposed to have 8 stories, where 6 stories is the maximum height, and where 2 additional stories may be allowed under the bonus height program set forth in section 98-1544-2 in exchange for the developer's contributions for specified purposes as identified in the master plan and that provide benefits to the public within the Hialeah Transfer Station subdistrict. The proposed exchange shall be reviewed by the Design Review Committee that shall approve the proposal prior to the rezoning hearing scheduling. The applicant has proposed to contribute $25,000 to the Friends of the High Line. However, the committee has not reviewed or accepted the proposal yet. Staff recommends to target a specific improvement such as a planned mid-block pedestrian crossing 1 block east of the subject property instead of the proposed monetary contribution. The Design Review Committee shall analyze and accept the proposal before the first reading at City Council. Otherwise, the item should be tabled until an agreement is reached. Given that the subject site is catty-cornered from the High Line, the applicant is proffering a contribution to the Friends of the High Line that would be utilized to help develop the proposed improvement. In addition, the applicant is proffering 5% of the residential units to be designated as workforce housing, giving preference to City of Hialeah police officers, first responders, firefighters, nurses, teachers, and city employees. 5% represents 27 residential units. According to the TOD regulations, the Design Review Committee will review the proposal, and these are the recommendations that staff is providing. Applicant is to address all traffic impact comments issued by John Kim, PE, dated October 11, 2024. Applicant to address city planning and zoning department request to evaluate and present a request to FDOT regarding lowering the speed limit along 25th Street, dated October 23, 2024. Applicant is to address all comments issued by the City Streets Department dated January 8, 2025. In relation to a proposed bonus height for 2 extra stories, the applicant shall provide a developer's contribution for a specified purpose as identified in the master plan and that provide benefits to the public within the Hialeah Transfer Station subdistrict as approved by the Design Review Committee. Applicant is proffering 5% of the residential units towards workforce housing designation. An applicant is proffering to build a parking structure at 445 East 25th Street for overflow parking. All these recommendations shall be conditions and be part of the declaration of restricted covenants to be proffered by the applicant. Recommendation is approval with conditions as stated above, pending determination of contribution for the bonus height program prior to first reading at City Council.
Thank you. I have a question before you start with your presentation. This project is for the eastern half of the entire property, because the property goes from 4th to 6th.
No,
It's for the entirety of the block.
The entire block.
Right, the eastern half from 5th to 6th,
Yeah,
Correct.
because Leon is from 4th to
fifth.
6th.
No, from 4 to 5.
But Leon owned the parking area for,
Exactly. So that parking, they are redeveloping into this.
that's the question. So Leon is gonna maintain usage of the western 4th to 5th, and you're taking over 5th to
Correct. So,
6th.
and I'll show you
25th,
on
20
the map, you have the medical center from 4th to 5th, and then this is a parking lot right now.
Yeah, well, because when you look at it here on your. Never mind.
I'll get it. sir. I'll get
Gotcha.
it.
Go ahead.
Good evening once again, board members. We're grateful for the opportunity to be before you this evening and excited to be bringing back this transformational project before you. If you recall, the land use component of this project came before you last summer. We are now here with the second lockstep of the process, which is the zoning entitlements. Next slide, please. So here, Chairman Perez, you'll see the subject property is approximately 5.6 acres and encompasses the full city block between 5th and 6th Avenue and East 25th Street and East 26th Street. The property fronts on East 25th Street, a major city thoroughfare with close proximity of major healthcare employment centers, sparse commercial and residential uses that vary from low to high densities. Next slide. The site is currently utilized as additional parking for Leon Medical Centers located just west. That's their East Hialeah Center. It should be noted that the East Hialeah Center, per its independent site plan approval, has a surplus of 76 parking spaces. Per the city code, it does not have an operational deficiency on that site. It has enough to encompass patient use as well as employee use. I'll reference this later in the presentation. As it applies to the subject property, it's really used more as an employee amenity to have this extra parking, but not truly a necessity, as that site plan already has a surplus of parking. Next slide. Again, as referenced, last year, the subject property's land use was changed from the parking to the TOD land use classification, a use that today was intended to be transitional, and that's why we're here to change that from the parking zoning now. Next slide. So as such, with staff's favorable recommendation, our application today relates to two things: the rezoning of the property from parking district to TOD, and an amendment of the existing declaration of use, which limits the use on the property right now to parking uses. As delineated, the strategic location of this property will allow many residents to transport easily throughout the city without the need of a car, as it's located near two mass transit stations, one on East 21st Street and another on East 25th Street. Next slide. In connection with the proposed development program, the applicant is proposing the redevelopment of the property into an 8-story mixed-use development consisting of approximately 559 multifamily units and 26,000 square feet of ground floor commercial uses, which will front on East 25th Street. Based on the employment centers near East 25th Street and the commercial visibility, we anticipate that this will attract national retailers and restaurants that will provide prime options for the residents and the employees working within the nearby vicinity. The project will also feature a number of amenities, including an elegant and secure lobby, a dedicated Uber and Lyft lounge, fitness centers, a pool and spa area, a family amenity area with a tot lot, club room, courtyard, bike storage, and seating areas throughout the project. Additionally, while this is a truly transit-oriented development, the proposed development will also provide off-street parking that's well in excess of the city code. City requires 764 spaces. We're providing 818. That's a surplus of 54 spaces. And then around the vicinity of the block, we're also going to offer on-street parking spaces, and that's 38 spaces that are contemplated around the property. Next slide. Now, given the current state of the housing supply challenges, the project will offer significant diversity of unit types as well for any stage of life. This will allow residents to stay in place and upgrade or downsize based on their respective living needs. So we'll start from a studio and it goes all the way up to 3-bedroom units, providing that diversity of unit types. Next slide. Designed by Modus Architects, this project will incorporate elegant and refined architecture that will enhance this key gateway to the city. Next slide. This shows a rendering on East 25th Street looking towards the ground floor commercial. Next slide. A daytime view of the same view from East 25th Street. Next slide. That'll be the entrance, which is located on East 25th Street into the commercial and promoting that walkability with the streetscape on East 25th. Next slide. And the project on the respective corners will have pedestrian access as well for pedestrian walkability purposes as well. Next slide. As set forth in staff's favorable recommendation, the ability to develop this site as TOD and its proximity to 2 metro stations provides the appropriate density to support transportation options for future residents. This project will certainly help to create a distinctive streetscape along East 25th Street that hopefully will be carried forward throughout that East 25th Street corridor. And additionally, through a revolutionary program that we're calling the Hialeah Heroes Program, the applicant is offering to designate 5% of the residential units of the project as workforce housing, with priority which will be given to city police officers, first responders, firefighters, nurses, teachers, and city employees. And that'll come out to 28 units in the building that are designated for that purpose. Next slide. Of significant importance, and since the approval of the land use last summer, the applicant, in order to fully understand the potential impacts of this project, and at the recommendation of staff, has prepared a traffic impact analysis. This is a process that's usually reserved for the subsequent site plan and concurrency after the zoning entitlement process. But the applicant, in working with staff, chose to do so at that point before land use and zoning to get a full grasp of the impact and what would be needed. As such, this analysis was reviewed and the methodology vetted by the city's traffic consultant, as well as City Streets Department and the Florida Department of Transportation. These reviewing departments have all provided comments which will be addressed, many of which have already been incorporated into the updated site plan. And ultimately, the analysis has shown that signalized intersections and stop sign controlled intersections are expected to operate within their adopted levels of service, and that the proposed project will not significantly impact the intersection of East 25th Street and East 8th Avenue. Next slide. Additionally, this project is also within close proximity of the proposed Highline Linear Park, an area that's envisioned by the city to be the county's underline trail, which with programming that's centered around an amenitized urban trail. This vision includes walking and cycling trails, outdoor gyms, dog park, basketball courts, domino park, and a multi-performative lawn. In support of this initiative, back when we did the land use, the applicant submitted a letter of support to Miami-Dade County in connection with the city amenity and has proffered a significant monetary contribution that will help to make this city initiative a reality. The project will also generate nearly $1.8 million in impact fees, which the city can also utilize to undertake infrastructure upgrades in the surrounding community, such as that mid-block crossing that was referenced in the staff recommendation. Next slide. Ultimately, this project will serve to beautify and further transform this key corridor of the city. Based on the project's location within a unique mix of commercial, healthcare, and residential uses, will provide an excellent alternative for employees in the immediate vicinity to live within close proximity of their jobs. As such, we respectfully request approval of recommendation of approval with staff's recommendations. We request one small modification to the last condition as it relates to overflow parking. Again, the medical center has a surplus of parking that is not an operational deficiency. So what we would request is a tweak in that language. It can still be a condition, but because it stands on its own, it has more than enough parking. We would request that language be tweaked to state that should parking become an operational issue at 445 East 25th Street, the owner shall develop a parking structure to address any operational deficiency. But as it stands right now, that's been operating for years and there is no deficiency. The site plan has a surplus. So we would request that minor change. Thank you. And we're here to answer any questions you may have.
My concern on that, no, is that parking that is there is being occupied. It's not that it's empty. So if it's occupied by the overflow, it means that there's a lot of business there and the overflow is needed. So, and in your letter of intent, you proffer that you were going to build a parking garage. I know that it's under the code, but as you know, in many occasions, the code is like an approximate thing. And maybe there are too many employees, or I don't know what's happening. So maybe what you can do is do like a parking availability study to see how many of the spaces that you have there are empty in the campus and how many of the other ones are occupied before you demolish that. So you can do that for the site plan review. And in that way, we understand if there is a demand or there is no demand for the overflow part.
Certainly, we can definitely conduct a parking availability study. I'll also have at first reading, ownership will be here as well. They can speak more about the operations and kind of the shared uses there. But to my full understanding, all of the parking spaces on the site are not being used. A lot of it is physician. Remember, most of the patients here are being transferred by bus. They're not parking there with their own cars. So there is open availability within the site. Now, the reason why they created the parking next door is they really didn't want to mix employees with patients. They wanted to give patients plenty of space, plenty of availability. That being said, there is plenty of availability and there is no issue, but we can have ownership provide more clarity, and we're certainly open to provide a parking demand study
Yeah,
during the site
that
plan
is easy
process.
to do. It's 2 days, 1
Yeah,
week, 2 days,
and
another
starting with
week,
that.
and then with that, we all know what will happen.
Definitely.
You don't want the cars of the employees or the visitors, the patients to be invading the neighborhood.
Thank you. Comments or questions?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
So it's 28 units for first responders, correct?
For the Hialeah
27.
Heroes program, yeah. We're gonna
Okay.
make it a priority for city officials, city employees to get first dibs on those workforce
Okay,
housing.
would they get first dibs on parking for their units that take home, take home units and stuff like that for the police officers or city cars and stuff like that?
In the sense of assigned parking or?
Yeah, I know you're limited with parking, I guess, like.
No, we've got more than plenty as far as, we have a surplus.
Okay,
in
but I
parking.
just want to make sure that doesn't,
But
that
definitely, I
doesn't
mean,
target-
we're always open. It's always a great thing to have, police vehicles
yeah.
and their cruisers
Yeah,
parked
but
within
sometimes,
the.
you don't want to put it in the middle of the street and somebody trash it with how the world is nowadays. You want to keep it within
Yeah,
the
yeah.
confined space.
And our parking garage is fully encompassed within the building. So that East 25th entrance,
Yeah.
that leads up to a 5-story parking
Okay,
garage.
that was just it. Yeah.
And also what will probably happen is that some of the employees would like to rent one block because many of the new projects, I knew that Leon Medical Center employees live in those TOD developments. So maybe many of them will opt to live here, no?
Thank you.
Through the
Thank you.
chair.
Yes, sir.
All of these are gonna be rentals, right?
Correct.
Now, the first responders, they're not getting any reduced amount. It's just they're getting a first.
Well, they're getting the workforce rates, which is a reduced amount from what
Okay.
the market rate would be.
Okay.
So yes, they are getting a reduced amount.
Will there be like Section 8 for old people too, or?
Section 8 adds an affordable housing component, which, when you go to lenders, usually becomes very difficult when you start to blend product types.
Okay.
But in keeping the multifamily and in keeping the workforce, it'll certainly have workforce. This is geared towards the working class, the employment centers in the area. It's not really intended to be, an elderly housing type of
Right,
development.
because it would have been really convenient, the doctor's next door,
Yeah, we just got to fear them walking across the streets.
Can we establish an AMI for the workforce? Because you say it's police officers, teachers, no? Here there are lawyers that, I don't know, police chiefs that make a certain amount. And then there are other employees that, I don't know if they even could pay the studio. So it will be good if we know that the workforce in Hialeah is the market rate. So if we can go lower and establish an AMI of, let's say, 90%, between 90% and 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I think the workforce AMI has been set by the Miami-Dade County. It's from.
No, but we are
It's
not.
up to
Miami-Dade
120%.
County. Here is a different reality. So maybe we can lower that 120%, still be within that and you will give more.
As long as we fall
opportunity.
within the workforce rates and we're not getting into the affordable rates, I think we're
You're okay.
willing to.
Okay. Okay.
So you're open for that. You bring it up to the powers that be.
We're open to being within the workforce rates.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Through the chair?
Yes.
So the parking, will it be assigned or it's gonna be open? I'm asking because I see that there's gonna be retail in the bottom, so.
So the retail on the bottom, that'll be, for the retail uses. And then once you go up the ramp, that's really where the residential uses will be.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Deborah, can you elaborate what AMI is?
Is area median income. The area median income in Hialeah is very low because most of the people that live in Hialeah work in the healthcare industry, but like in the lower layers of the healthcare industry and in education also. There are assistants in all of these daycares and little schools that are all around. So that's where their income come from. And also in City Hall, there are employees that make a good living and other employees that are a little bit, it's difficult for them to be able to rent an apartment. So if we lower it a little bit, AMI will be a real buffer. If not, what is 120% AMI is what the regular rental is charging Hialeah.
And workforce rates?
Workforce is There is a table and the table has all the AMIs. So there it says, if it's 4 people and they are within this salary, they are within this percentage. So.
So it's like
so
a
that-
poverty guideline kind of thing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You want to add something?
So AMI is determined based on the county itself. So even though the city of Hialeah does have a different standard of living, AMI is taken into account all the areas of Miami-Dade County, including Golden Beach, Hialeah, Liberty City, the city of Miami. So they combine all those incomes and average them out into one number. And then there's a table that is looked at the developers where they determine what the area median income and percentage of area median income. And Miami-Dade County says you can go up in most cases to 120% of area median income. So if area median income is $50,000, let's say, I think it's a little lower than that, then affordable could be up to 120% of that. So it could be more than the area median income. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Now,
Okay. Anyone in this?
one last question. What motivated you to do the workforce? I mean, it's commendable.
No,
but-
so at the end of the day, the owner is not in this, he's not a multifamily developer, which is not his primary business. He's in the healthcare space. So one of the things he wanted to do is, he has a medical center right next door. He has a number of employees that need housing, need options to housing. And so again, this is, not a primary business, but something that is almost a secondary to his healthcare space. And so he saw an opportunity to provide adequate housing for employees within the neighborhood, as well as, to provide housing for the vital city employees and city officials.
So this is very commendable. I mean, if more developers would do this, I think it would be very helpful.
I mean, I think we've heard loud and clear from you guys, from the city council over the years, and there's certainly a housing crisis. So it's something that there's a wide spectrum that we're trying to fill with this project.
Thank you.
So Leon Medical Center is the owner of
Not the company, but Mr. Leon is the owner.
they're within the same deal.
Exactly.
So he'll own the medical center and the apartments.
Exactly.
Good deal. Anyone in the audience have a questions? No electronic audience, right? All right. What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion to approve with conditions.
Second motion with conditions.
Okay. So we had a motion by Mrs. Enriquez
Sorry.
and Mr. Santisteban.
Is it with the condition? Because I had mentioned a small tweak
condition.
to the condition for or maybe we can do it based on the parking demand study and include that language, which is Deborah's
We'll
recommendation.
define it at the city council meeting.
Excellent.
As
Okay.
long as she's okay with it.
With the
So
con-
Deborah, is there a condition, is a condition also going to be that 28 of the units have to go to city employees? Is that a condition?
He's preferring that, yes.
So that'll be a condition, right, Alex?
I'm offering that priority will be given to city
And
employees.
he's 27, not 20.
No, it's 28. We're going to round up.
Okay.
It comes out to like 27.8. So
Deborah's on your side.
Can you go to 30? Come on,
we're leaving it at an easy 5%.
come on, make it even.
45.
15.
Okay,
So motion to approve with conditions.
okay. So
The motion.
motion by Mrs. Enriquez, second by Mr. Iglesias. Mr. Ulloa,
Yes.
Mr. Santisteban,
Yes.
Mr. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Mason,
Yes.
Mrs. Enriquez,
Yes.
Mr. Iglesias,
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez.
Yes.
Item has been approved with conditions.
Thank you very
So
much.
you finally landed that big old lot, huh? I remember it was a lot of uphill battles with all the
It was
all the neighbors there. Yeah. All right. Mr. Lasarte, I'm doing great. How about you?
Well,
Long time no see. All right. A motion.
Item number
want to make a motion to approve, that'd be great.
Item number 4, variance from it to replat the property into 2 substandard lots and to allow the construction of a duplex on each substandard lot, having a frontage of approximately 42.08 feet and 42.01 feet, and a total area of approximately 4,205.38 square feet and 4,064.29 square feet, where frontage of 75 feet and total lot area of 7,500 square feet are required. Rezoning property from R1, one family district, to R2, 1 and 2 family residential district. Variance permit to allow the following setbacks adjustments for the west lot. Allow front setback of 22 feet where 25 feet are required. Allow interior east side setback of 0 feet where 7.5 feet are required. Allow rear setback of 14 feet where 25 feet are required. Allow 43% lot coverage where 30% is the maximum allowed, and allow 2 parking spaces where 4 parking spaces are required. Variance permit to allow the following setback adjustments for the east lot. Allow front setback of 15 feet where 25 feet are required. Allow interior west side setback of 0 feet where 7.5 feet are required. Allow 36.3% lot coverage where 30% is the maximum allowed, and allow 2 parking spaces where 4 parking spaces are required. Properties located at 560 East 7th Avenue, Hialeah zoned R1, one family district. Applicant Felix Asarte, Esquire, on behalf of Jorge Socarras Trust.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members. Felix Asarte with office at 3250 Northeast First Avenue on behalf of the applicant and the owner, Jorge Socarras.
Good evening.
I will read the recommendation, but I prepare with these recommendations with the plans that were submitted, and he just gave me another plans addressing some of the comments, so I cannot on the spot change the recommendation, so I will read what I have and then I will tell you what he brought me, and then you'll make the decision. This property is located at the northwest corner of East 6th Street and East 7th Avenue. The property is approximately 8,411 square feet with a frontage of 84 feet and depth of 100 feet. The property is located 1 block east of Babcock Park and 1 block west of East 8th Avenue. The area mostly comprises 1-story single-family homes. Give me 1 second. The area mostly comprises 1-story single-family homes within a low-density residential land use and an R1 zoning. The existing structure was constructed in 1990 and there are no current code, fire, or building violations. However, property maintenance seems to have declined over the years. This application requests to subdivide the lot into 2 substandard lots with approximate frontages of 42 feet related to a proposal to build a duplex on each substandard lot. The subdivision request is similar to the 2 adjacent properties to the north granted in 2011 through Ordinance 2011-13 for the subdivision of the property into 2 substandard lots and the construction of 1 single family on each lot. In the subject application, the applicant is proposing to build 2 attached 2-story duplexes with one facing East 7th Street and the other one facing East 7th Avenue. The 2 attached duplexes are designed in a very compact fashion, including 4 3-bedroom units with 2 tandem parking spaces for each unit and limited space for outdoor expansions such as terraces, balconies, or porches. The proposed site layout provides separate entrances on East 6th Street and the other one on East 7th Avenue to help separate the parking area of each of the duplexes. To be able to develop the property as proposed, lot size, setback, and lot coverage variances are needed. Taking into consideration the surrounding properties, there are currently no R2 zone properties within the closest vicinity and no 2-story residences, making the rezoning and scale out of sync with the neighborhood. This type of rezoning request with such compact developments has demonstrated over the years the parking pressures imposed in established neighborhoods, eroding green swale areas and removing tree canopies to accommodate vehicles. In addition, the building footprint is large to accommodate 3 bedrooms on each unit, creating the need to request a lot coverage variance and also preventing an outdoor expansion area without encroaching into setbacks and altering the proposed facade looks. The request creates a trickle effect of variances because the land envelope is too small to accommodate 2 large buildings on each proposed standard lot. The contemporary building design of the two-story buildings is rich and ambitious, providing for design variety and upscaling the neighborhood. However, the proposed scale is not harmonious with the neighborhood. It is here in my prior recommendation, it says, it is recommended that the substandard lots be developed as single-family homes to avoid a myriad of variances, or the size of the duplex units be reduced to allow for expansion areas and reduce the parking demand of each of the units. The applicant should redesign the proposal to develop one single-family home on each substandard lot. That's the recommendation. Mr. Lazarte bring me another proposal, but it just reduces the size of the house of one of the duplexes minimally. It was it was proposed as one of the two of the units having 14,000 square feet, and the other one's 1,800 square feet. So they were reduced from 1,400. That was not reduced to one of the 1,400, and the other one from 1,700 to from 1,800 to 1,700. That's insignificant. It's not significant. There's not a reduction. It was just to, and then they put two little patios and clothes to provide for the outdoor area. So the recommendation is still the subdivision of the lot is okay. You can subdivide in two lots, but put this amount of units so compact in this space, they really don't fit. It will be, it's the recommendation would be to build a single family house on each lot, not a duplex.
So Deborah, to understand, he provided a smaller, his new plans are
Smaller
smaller?
for 100 square
Okay,
feet.
so, okay.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, Felix Asarte once again. So, Mr. Chairman, what you have here is, quite frankly, an improvement to what exists there today and what exists in that neighborhood today. If we're honest, and I lived in Hialeah, grew up here, I know that area extremely well. To call it a single family area, you could call it a single family. You could call me a Calvin Klein model. That's not a single family area. You have homes that have 6 or 7 individual units inside. And when you go there, you see a tremendous crisis with parking. And what this does is that you take and you actually create something new. Instead of having 6 individual families living inside these homes like they do, unfortunately, you basically created 2 duplexes with parking spaces in different areas, one facing the avenue, the other one facing the street. So then you don't have like this gigantic parking lot in the front. And you have a property that then is going to be inspected. It's going to have fire sprinklers. It's going to be safe. And it's going to go through all the permitting processes that the city requires. So you have a good and fair and usable structure. You have in that area, and if you look at it, homes that have, exits through the back, some that don't have exits, and it's a nightmare. This is a clear improvement. Now you're going to put a building that is worth over $1 million. Now you add that to the city's tax rolls, which increases the value to the city. And it also increases your garbage collection fees because now it is zoned as what it's supposed to be doing. Remember, people come in and they have these homes where there's 6 different families living there and they're paying one garbage bill. So this, and quite frankly, I think is going to improve the area. I think it's a beautiful architectural look. If you look at a lot of the homes in Coconut Grove on substandard lots, they look like this. This breaks it up. And we believe that this is a viable and good project. I'm a little surprised about the recommendation, but, everybody's certainly entitled to their opinion, and I respect Deborah as a professional. But this plan that is before you, I presented it weeks ago, month ago, to the planning department. I remember changing the architect to have better architecture. And I thought everything was in order in terms of, look, this thing makes sense. But certainly, you know, people could disagree, and I respect Deborah. She's a friend and known her for 25 years. I understand that. Will tell you that this is going to be an improvement to what's there. I think it's going to be something that you're going to be able to collect taxes and garbage and appropriate fees, and it's going to be something that's regulated. Because to continue to say, hey, this is an R1, but it's not an R1. And I could come before you and tell you, you know what? Let's just do 2 single-family homes. And what happens is that then people start subdividing it on the inside. So permit what you're going to say you're going to do. And let's be honest, and let's do it legally. And let's go and get your permit cards, pay your impact fees, pay the additional taxes, because now it's an R2, pay the additional garbage. Let's just do things correctly. And not, well, it's just now a single-family home. And then the next moment, the moment you get your CO, people start chopping it up on the inside, which is what happens. And at least those are new structures. With the existing structures that are there, they're all chopped up and it's a mess. So I think this allows you to start moving in a direction where you clean up the area, in my opinion.
Can I tell you something?
Yes.
In an 1,800 or 1,700 square feet unit in Hialeah, you will be surprised that people live with roommates. So you're going to have lots of cars. Why don't you go back to the drawing table? You present the duplexes, but without 1,000 square feet each of the duplexes with 2 bedrooms, to make sure that in each duplex only one family will live there, not extended family, not roommates. And in that way, it's possible. But I think the proposal is too ambitious. They want too much, not ambitious, greedy, I would say.
Well,
So come back with 4 1,000 square feet units, and then you have your point, and we don't have the risk that we will have these so compact with so many cars, because we heard this from the developers,
Yeah.
that they have 2-bedroom units and even 1-bedroom units. At the end, you have the same 6 persons living there because they cannot afford it.
I agree. Let me just say this. Because you have before you an application that has a variance, you could put a condition on it, because there is a zoning, but you have variance. So you have a variance, you could put a condition to a variance. And the condition could be that the individual units can't exceed 11 or 1,200 square feet, whatever that is. And then, you know, I'll adjust the plans and come back with that, because that would be a condition of the approval when I go to the council. That's the way it would be. What I don't want to do is continue to delay this thing, because again, I've been working on this thing seriously. I'd say probably since, I would say, September. We met, we changed architects. The guy had the whole thing. And I thought we were all there. Obviously, these things change. But you guys, if you don't feel comfortable with the size of the unit, because you're saying the units are too big, then you could reduce the footprint of the units, and we could do that, put it as a condition, and we move on with life. I don't want to, just continue to delay and delay and delay. I mean, that's reality, and you guys will be secure.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Why divide the plots? What's the benefit of subdividing the plot? Why not just do everything together?
Because if you don't subdivide the lots, 4 units is a multifamily building. So in this way, he's subdividing it in 2 lots and building 2 attached duplexes, 1 duplex on each lot. So he's having 4 units.
And why not just do a building?
Because if not, he will need to come and change the land use to medium density residential or high density residential and change the zoning.
It's more complicated.
And more complicated, and also less consistent with the area that is all low density and R1.
Yeah, because I'm looking at like Google, and the houses behind are subdivided. It's like,
No, well, that's why we explained the houses behind, the houses on the north side.
right,
That was a similar road that was divided into,
exactly.
and they build 1 single family on each lot.
On each, And like that just reminds me of Hialeah Gardens, where everything is on top of each other. And like one of the nice things I like about Miami Springs is like you have big lots. And like it's just like I don't like the idea of becoming Hialeah Gardens. Like I like the idea of having big lots. I would prefer, I know it's more work. I would prefer to have a multifamily building, like just one unit as
But
opposed to a lot of
remember,
little.
then you will be seeing at everything that is yellow, low density residential, and you will have that corner with that land use and zoning that is not consistent with what is
Yeah,
around.
look, I think your planner has said, look, if we reduce the sizes of these units, she would be okay with it from a compatibility standpoint, right? Because I think she just thinks that maybe these units are too big and you don't want to have too many people in these units. The way that this is designed, when you drive it, since it's going to have an entrance through 6th Avenue and the other one through 7th Street, what happens is that it looks like it's two single family homes, the way we designed it. And at that point, you keep more or less that general nature of what the homes are in the area, but like I've said before, when you could drive it later on tonight on your way home, you drive around, there's, those homes are not being used as single family homes. So I think this is an attempt to, quite frankly, make something that is bankable, financeable, and something where the city can make their fees and properly regulate what goes in there in a very honest fashion. If Deborah's concerned with the size of the units, put a condition that each of the units can't exceed 1,200 feet or 1,300 feet. And
Well, I
that's it.
said 1,000.
How much?
I said 1,000.
Well, 1,000, maybe 1,100,
1,000 is a
whatever.
good size for a 2-bedroom. You will have 2 people living there. I think that the cap should be 1,000.
Yeah, Deborah, let me see, how much what's the size of the units now? Do you know offhand?
1,474, almost 1,500,
Mhm.
and the other one, 1,724. So they're
That's a lot.
big. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so I think what we can do is, limit the size of them, make them smaller, put a
1,000
condition.
1,000 square feet each.
Through the chair.
Mm-hmm.
Can that be done? Put a condition like that?
A condition, the condition
That
that,
way, like he says, we can
Yeah.
go ahead. I mean, if it's okay with you guys, and it's okay with you, Deborah, I mean,
Yeah, and-
that way he can go
and
ahead and
before the
keep on
council
going.
meeting, not 1 hour before, like a couple of days before, bring the new plans. So we send the package to the city council on the Friday before the meeting and we have to look at it. So send the plans beforehand so we can look at them, but have the units be 1,000 square feet
Yeah,
and
what-
no more than 2
Yeah,
bedrooms.
what I'll do is I'll have the architect just call you tomorrow and he can meet
And
with you
the-
guys and,
This Friday.
no, I'll have the architect deal with this, with you
We-
and the
sorry,
architect.
sorry.
Yeah.
We sent a text to them, but the things we can send them. Yeah.
Through the chair?
Yes.
I hate to say, I disagree with you completely. I think this is an eyesore. We're gonna be destroying our single family homes. We're getting less and less, single family homes, whether the people are renting them out or whatever. And breaking and partitioning, hopefully the city will find them and do what they have to do and find them. And shut them down and make them fix what they're having.
That hasn't happened in 40
It-
years,
it-
Mr.
but
Rio.
I understand
Yeah,
that it hasn't.
yeah, that hasn't happened, man.
But still, this is a residential area with single family homes.
Okay.
We have not that many left, and we're gonna give these away for developers. I understand that progress has to come, but this is a nice little neighborhood with houses. And I hate that we're mowing down these houses, especially these nice houses. It's a beautiful corner lot house right now. It's going to trash. I want houses. I think that we have a plethora of apartment buildings. They're building one. Leon is building one right now. There's 25th Street is full of apartments. We have quadruplexes everywhere. I'm gonna put more quadruplexes. This is just another quadruplex.
It just doesn't fit the area.
It doesn't,
Exactly.
it's a big square block in the middle of nice residential area. I would like to fix these areas, make the sidewalks nicer, put more green space. That's what I'd rather do, develop it, or it could be homes. Let's not destroy the little bit of homes that Hialeah has left. Let's stop paving over everything. I can't vote for this. I hope my constituents here do not vote for this either, because this is something that we're just destroying the little bit of homes that we have. This is bringing down our property values. This is bringing people that aren't laying down their roots here. I want people who want to stay here and live here, invest in Hialeah. Not people who are going to live here temporarily and then leave after they can afford buying a house or whatever. I want people who lay down their roots like I have, like you have, like all of us have here, lay down the roots in the city and be part of the city, not just be transients. I can't vote for this. This is an eyesore for me. It's beautiful someplace else, but not in the middle of these houses. And I understand there's a lot of houses doing things that they shouldn't be doing, but that's something that the city has to get on. And yeah, it's never going to stop. You know why? Because everybody that's here, us Cubans think that we're still in Cuba doing what we got to do.
I don't think it's a matter of Cubans. I mean,
The majority of it is,
Cubans
unfortunately.
haven't been in Hialeah the whole time.
Yeah, but
I don't think it's a
that
Cuban.
either that people are doing that, but I respect that you wanting to bring something new, but this area is not for this.
I respect that.
My opinion, I feel that we have to conserve the little bit of L1s, I guess it's called, the L1s, because we're just mowing them down. We're getting rid of them all. Do we
Good
want to
job.
make everything apartments here? Are we gonna be an urban city now? No homes, everything, we're gonna mow down Palm Springs Mile afterwards and put apartments in Palm Springs Mile? You know, behind Filer, all those nice houses back there, we're gonna mow them down and start putting apartments back there?
You're putting apartments in Westland Mall.
Yeah, well, Westland Mall is a different situation. 49th Street is a well developed place, but I'm talking about behind Palm Springs Mile, the houses that are back there, we're gonna knock those down. You know, I say that enough is enough. We have a surplus of apartments. I think this, like Deborah said, I feel like this is a money grab, and that's what our developers are. This is a money grab, and I can't vote for something like this, and I just don't want to get rid of the few homes that we have, because I'm passionate about saving our city and having home for our city, not just apartments. We want people who live here, who want to live here, and lay their roots down here and invest in the city and grow in the city. I understand what he says, that we don't want to look like Hialeah Gardens, but I'd rather make that sacrifice and have 2 family homes than have an apartment with 4 families, 6 families. Apparently, this is gonna have 8 families or something, I think, if I'm not mistaken. It's a lot of people in one block, which was originally a house. I feel that it's
Through the chair.
Yeah.
awful. Sorry.
I think she,
I'm gonna have to agree with Mr. Yo.
Mhm.
As a person who lives in this neighborhood, I would hate to have a building as my neighbor all of a sudden, especially because I bought because there were homes all around. That's what I wanted. Otherwise, I would have bought in Wynwood if that's what I wanted.
Right.
So it's a beautiful project, and yes, it would bring something new and fresh to our city, but it's like Deborah said, it's inconsistent with that area. Maybe redevelop that house, fix it up. I bought a disgusting house and I fixed it up, but it's nice now.
Sure.
So give the opportunity to somebody else to do that, or even just knock it down and build another house. But these, it doesn't fit there. Beautiful, but they don't fit there. It doesn't make sense there.
Okay.
good.
Yeah, I agree 100% with my, not constituent, my colleague.
The colleague, yeah. I used the wrong word.
That's it.
And it has nothing to do with you, Felix. I mean, you're a
No.
great lawyer. It's just like the project. I usually like to support growth, but I mean, like keep everything in order. Like the Leon, at least there's commercial around it. Yes, it's a huge building, but here it's all single family homes, like my colleague said, and it just doesn't fit. I don't even like the homes in the back that subdivided the
Yeah, I
lot.
like those
But
either.
I mean, I would be willing to do that because at least, it's commensurate with the buildings in the back. But like doing a fourplex is just creating a precedent. And then little by little, all of the city will be, I don't know. I like the idea of single family homes better.
Deborah, are there plans for that street to have, buildings? So it's supposed to just be R1 or R2s.
If this was on Lejeune Road, would be different.
Right. So, yeah.
Maybe you
Okay.
can go with the subdivision and then go back to your client. And maybe he changes the idea. You get the 2 lots and then he develops a modest single family home on each lot that he's already gaining, no? If he
Right.
yes.
No, I mean, ultimately, right. I mean, the next step would be if the board decides to vote against it, it would go to the council, the recommendation of denial. Right. But I would rather just go to the council.
You you don't wanna go back to the drawing table and try to see what you could do or work around it with your client? Like to
Um,
table it or something?
You know, I don't, I just, you have basically a group of people that are saying, I want to keep it as a single family home. We're not going to do that. So I think I just need to proceed with what we're going to do, which is we're going to divide the lot and there's going to be two different structures here. We're not going to keep it as one single family home, which is, I know the desire of many of you to keep it that way, but that's not, what we're going to do. In fact, right behind this, a lot already has been subdivided into two substandard lots. So that one lot already created two homes. So if that our guy's already smaller than me, then I can't keep mine larger than his.
Yeah, but it's two homes. It's not a quadruplex.
That's what they are saying, that they could contemplate the subdivision of the lot, but not your proposal. So you can go with a recommendation of approval for the subdivision into two substandard lots, and then you think what's going to go there.
So if you divide the lots, you can have two single-family homes.
Well, the variance will need to be amended to approve the variance, allow the replatting, and allow one single family home on each lot.
So-
But I don't know if that is what he wants.
So the chair, so what's Diego is saying is, Mr. Perez, is that it could be done.
It
Put a
could-
single family on each lot.
Yes,
And you can still have 17-something hundred square foot floor plan per unit. Like he's proposing to have,
yeah, but instead of 4, 2.
Exactly.
right.
The same thing they did on the lots on the top.
So Deborah, it would be to subdivide it as two R2s?
No,
Or
No,
how does that?
we are
Two-
two
oh,
homes.
Okay.
So it'll be two, right now,
Single family.
right now, he's applying for two R2s,
Okay, so then you're
So he's gonna
proposing
have
two R1s.
two buildings
Okay.
with duplexes in them. So he's gonna have 4 living quarters in there,
Okay.
4 apartments.
A quadruplex.
What we're suggesting is still the lot's gonna be divided, because it has to be divided, but then put a single-family home of the same capacity, but have 2 single-family home, 1 per lot.
Okay.
Would you like to consider that, Felix? And,
Yeah, I mean, you guys can make the motion. I mean, you're the board.
I mean, I don't know if
You can make the.
Well, we
whatever.
can't tell you what to
guys,
do.
no, but you guys can make whatever, you can make that motion and then, my application is the way it stands, but you can make the motion and pass whatever it is you want to
We
pass.
can't tell you what to do, you know that.
Right.
Well, you gotta make a motion based on his application as it
Right, right.
stands. So
Correct.
Felix, if they deny your application, if they move to deny your application and
Mhm.
recommend a denial, remember, if the denial gets upheld at city council, you can't come back for a year. Okay?
Correct.
With
So-
the same application, you
right.
can come back with a.
But with a
different
less
With a dip-
intense application.
With a less intense, correct,
less
with a
intense
less intense application.
Correct.
So it's up to
Correct.
you. I mean, if you would like to table it here and go back and maybe come back with something, so you go with an approval,
Yeah.
I don't know, and you need 5 votes to overturn the denial.
Them that they don't want the 2 stories, they don't want the like how compact this is, so.
Yeah.
A less intense application will be, well, we're talking about 2 single-family homes.
Well, that would be one example.
Yeah. That is
yeah,
what
yeah,
they,
right.
that is what you all are willing to
Right.
contemplate.
Okay.
If you come back with that, they won't have an issue,
Right.
but with the duplex, they have an issue. And with the-
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, I'd rather move forward to the council because at the end of the day, if the council wants to go ahead and just let me subdivide the lot into 2 single family homes, and I'll be there, a couple of weeks earlier, with all due respect.
Okay.
We've been working on this thing for a long time.
All right, so we could motion on this then? I'd like to motion to
Is
deny.
there any more comments, questions, or no one in the audience? So
Second that motion.
So we have a motion from Mr. Uriel, second by Mrs. Enriquez.
motion
To
to
deny.
Motion to deny. Mr. Santiesteban?
Yeah.
Mr. Perez?
yes.
Mr. Mason? Mr. Iglesias?
yes.
Mrs. Enriquez?
Yes.
Mr. Jimenez?
Yes.
Mr. Uriel?
Yes.
Item has been denied.
I take care.
Good night, Felix.
Okay, so item number 5, this item has been requested to be tabled.
Okay. Well, can we get a motion?
Motion to table.
But wait, let me read the
Yeah, read
address
it.
so everybody knows. So the address of item number 5 is 1286 West 38th Place, Unit 1, Hialeah Zone R2, 1 and 2 Family Residential District. So I'm so sorry, I didn't catch the motion. Who motioned?
I did.
Okay, Mr. Ulloa, second by Mrs. Enrique. Mr. Perez?
Everybody was yes.
Okay. Mr. Mason, Mr. Iglesias.
Yes,
Mrs.
yes.
Enrique.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Ulloa, Mrs.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Okay, item has been tabled.
I,
Miscellaneous items not requiring advertising. Item number 6, old business.
any other business?
No old business. Item number 7, new business.
I'd like to say something, it's about what just happened here, I don't like denying people, I'm always the one saying deny, but I feel that we need to save what's left of our R1s, because we're just gonna mow over them all. I understand that people need apartments, but are we going the right way with this? Do we need more apartments? Maybe with like Palm Avenue, we could put apartments at. Look where we're putting them at.
That's why the recommendation was denial and
Yeah.
What-
you all agree on
What
that.
sidetracked me was the willingness to downgrade the square footage,
Yeah,
you know, from 17 down to 1,000. That's a big difference.
I feel that this was something that he didn't have any respect for our board. Because he said, I'm gonna go anyways to the council anyways. So I feel that he didn't care what we thought. Hopefully he gets denied, but I feel that we need to save our small residentials. We're running out of these places. I understand people want to develop, but please keep in mind, let's try to keep our city a city of people who want to lay down roots here and want to live here. Not people who want to come and live here and work someplace else or not even investing in the city. There's a lot of apartments. Let's put apartments where it seems reasonable. Okeechobee Road, Palm Avenue, Lejeune Road. Let's try to keep our residentials safe.
I think we all agree.
Yeah, because I don't want to see any more quadruplexes in the middle of, a residential area. I really don't. And it's sad that we do that.
This was
Because-
similar like the last one that we had, the little old house, the historical one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Exactly.
to put an apartment there would have been a travesty where that little house is at in that neighborhood. And
Yeah, it
people want to
can-
keep
it
doing
can
that because I
Pretty
feel,
much encroaching into here.
yo pienso que everybody here in Hialeah viene a coger manguito bajo.
Yeah, no, we need to keep the ownership.
Yeah,
We need
And
to
I
keep-
feel that
we
we
don't
need to
want to
toughen
be
up
an
on the
investment,
R1s.
yeah.
We really need to toughen up.
yes.
Perfect.
Just,
Perfect, yeah.
We offer him that, yeah. Or
Just
come-
FYI.
or Come with a smaller duplexes.
just FYI, we're still on the record and Mr. Magruso deserves to go home.
Well, we're still on the record, so,
So, yeah.
all right, so since
That's
there's
it. I
nothing
just wanted to
else,
say my piece and let's save our R1s, please.
since there's nothing else, meeting's adjourned.
Good night.